in that manner. And so when you think about where we are in our society, to inform, and that's why Be the Now is an excellent platform where we try to inform and educate and build awareness, so that way people understand that the variation is not because the system is doing something behind the scene. It's not that government is trying to control who wins, who lose. No, we got to educate everyone that when you start at the top of the ticket and you're informed as much as you possibly can be informed, and we try to build awareness and educate everyone the value of voting up and down the line. Because if the same number of voters that voted for now Senator Warnock would have voted for Stacey Abrams, we would have a governor by the name of Stacey Abrams in the state of Georgia. And so, but it's well within everybody's right. Don't get me wrong. So if somebody said, hey, I just went in, Derek, and voted for you and left, that's within your right. But that's not really helping us. Mm-hmm. That's not really helping us, right? I appreciate your vote, but I need you to vote up and down the ticket, because this is all connected. It is all connected. The second point, Erica, that you mentioned, I just want to highlight is this. Ladies and gentlemen, those federal dollars and state dollars, let me tell you a little secret. That's your tax dollars. Hello? Those federal dollars and state dollars are your tax dollars. Those dollars were designed to help you, help us. So when you think about infrastructure, when you think about healthcare, when you think about clean air to breathe, fresh water to drink, right? Roads that are not crumbling. You're driving on a bridge and you don't fall through into the water, right? Those are your tax dollars at work, and they should be at work. When you think about public education, those should be your tax dollars at work. But when you don't complete the census, we don't get our portion, because somebody think that the census, somebody trying to get me, somebody trying to track me down. It has nothing to do with nothing like that. The census just basically want to say how many people are breathing in your state. That's it. How many people breathing in your state? And there's a formula that's used based on that population that the federal government and the state government will say, based on that number, these are the dollars that should be working for the people in that state based on the population, right? So California should get more dollars than Georgia because the population in California is far greater. But I always tell my constituents that if Georgia has grown over the last 10 years by 1.6 million people, then that's 1.6 million people extra based on what we did 10 years ago. But if I don't see 1.6 million increase, then that's a problem. Somebody did not complete the census or participate in the census, and that only hurts us. Period. End of story.
Derek, thank you so much for breaking that down. I truly appreciate that. I know the theory, but you've given us some of the meat behind the theory, so thank you. We did have another question in the chat. Actually, we had two questions in the chat. Number one is, where do people start to do their research? And I'm going to kick this one off. I'm going to say it starts right here. It starts right here, and it starts with us. Number one, come to Be the Now. Make sure you visit our website, BeTheNow.org. Our goal is to keep us educated, keep us engaged, and keep us informed. that is our true purpose and our true desire, to make sure that we are equipping the community, especially the people of color, with the information they need to make the informed decisions, to put people in power that are truly going to represent them. So I say start with us. Come to these forums. We're having forums January, February, March, April, and May. I believe it's every third Wednesday of the month. Be on the lookout, because we'll be here tackling topics that are key to our communities. So that's your first place to start. I'll also say, if you have people that are currently in office, you can go look at their voting records. So if it's your a county council person, or if it's a state representative, or your senators or your governors, go look at their voting records. Go see what they're voting for. Are they truly representing you and the things that you want and the things that are going to better your community? That's definitely a key place to start. Of course, you watch the media, you watch the news and see what they're saying, but sometimes it's a little twist with some of that stuff sometimes, depending on what you're watching. So even though you're watching that, I know you have to go do your own research, and look for these different sources, and seek it out. Hey, a lot of times they give you their website, they give you their email, they give you their phone number. I know a lot of times I get in the mail information about the different people that are running for office. Call them and ask them questions. If you see them out, ask them questions. Those are the places that I can think of to start the research. And Derek, I'm gonna ask you, what other sources can people go to find out information?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I appreciate the question. I'm going to give you three. Certainly, I agree with you, Be the Now. But let me give you three in addition to Be the Now. One is the news. I'm talking about real news, right? I'm talking about major network, because there is a protocol, there is a process. Real journalism, there is a code. And they're, by design, should not give their own opinion. There should not be subjectivity. They're just reporting the news. I'm talking about real news, right? Not somebody's podcast, not somebody, Club Shay Shay. No, I'm talking about real news. Because there are laws that governs the news, both on television and newspaper. So that's one. Unfortunately, Erica, not a lot of the electorate watch the news. Now they can tell you everything what Offset and Cardi B, and they can tell you everything what they're doing in their lives, but they can't tell you who's running for office right now. Right? I think that's a problem. Folks don't read the newspaper like they used to. In fact, you can Google this, but the circulation of newspapers, the reason why a lot of them went from print to digitization is not just to save money, but they were wasting money. So they have to look at their top line and bottom line too. And we're talking about newspapers that have been around for a very long time. The Chicago Tribune, the Boston Globe, the AJC, right? These journalists, these reporters, they have a code, and they abide by that code, right? Now, I know some people are going to say, Derek, this is 2024. What's wrong with Black Twitter? What's wrong with the Shade Room? I get all that. But they don't go through the same protocol and process, right? And they have algorithms out there They already know what you like and dislike, and they're going to cater to that. That's not what I'm talking about. So if I understand the question correctly, Erica, one place you should go is, television news, just 30 minutes. Just watch the news for 30 minutes. Read the newspaper. Just pick a day, Sunday or Saturday. Just get the newspaper, right? I'm not advertising. I'm just telling you where to go to get the information to stay current, to stay engaged, and stay involved. And if we do this, especially as adults, then the younger adults, the young leaders, they will have something to model behind. So that's one area. The second area I would suggest is this. I know this is not Gucci, but there's a channel called C-SPAN. And I know a lot of folks don't know about C-SPAN. But let me tell you, you get a chance to look at your elected officials when they're in session at work. You get an opportunity. The third and final area, Erica, to find out what's going on, every state, their General Assembly also have a website and live streaming. You should know what your elected officials at the state level, what laws that they're passing. We just started on Monday, and my constituents didn't know on Monday that we already were voting on a bill to change the minimum mandatory sentence from 2 years to 10 years.
Wow. Wow.
So if you run foul of the law and you thinking that, oh man, this Junebug got that same kind of, he got that same kind of charge, and Junebug did 2 years. He was, in there for 24 months, and it was a misdemeanor. That same law now that Junebug got is no longer 2 years. It's 10 years. And so when you think about staying informed about what's happening, you got to make sure that you go to the website, get on their live streaming platform. Obviously, you can't say anything, but you can hear, you can see the machinery at work. And that's how you stay involved. That's how you stay informed by those three things. News, newspaper, watch television news. Again, C-SPAN, that covers the federal level, and then every state have their live streaming platform, and you have to use their website portal to get to it, but it's free of charge. It costs you nothing but your time to stay informed and see what's going on.
Oh, thank you so much, Derek, for that. I forgot about C-SPAN, to be honest with you, and also the live streams. So thank you for that key information. Our questions in the chat are picking up. We did cover one. Someone asked, how do you check what elected officials vote for? Definitely going to that live stream or going to C-SPAN and seeing things in real time will tell you, what they're voting for and how they're voting. We did have a couple other questions in the chat. What do you think are the top issues or questions to be addressed by those running for Congress? And then another that we have is talking about the Biden reelection. Is it more important to have Biden reelected as the Democratic candidate over making sure Trump is not reelected? Should folks carry party lines to vote in the Republican? Should folks cross party lines to vote in the Republican primary to vote against Trump? So 2 good questions there.
Yeah.
Again, the first one, what are the top issues or questions to be addressed by those running for Congress? And then the other is paraphrasing, is it more important to get Biden reelected or to keep Trump out?
Yeah. So I'm gonna save that last one for last, because that's a good one. Well, they're all good, but that's a doozy. I think, and I appreciate the question, I think the most important issues and questions to be addressed by those running for Congress are your issues. What impacts you and your family? If you get an opportunity to ask a congressional candidate, right? See, because they have canned answers, right? They know, we all know, I'll put myself in this bucket. We all know, for the most part, everybody want to talk about jobs. Everybody want to talk about the economy. Everybody want to talk about inflation. And I know those two are the same, but you see where I'm going. Everybody wants to talk about, affordable housing. And so we already know and have some canned answers. But if you walk in there and say, Representative Jackson, why am I paying $500 a month for car insurance? I never had an accident. Yes, I got 4 teenagers in my house. Yes, I have a wife. I got all, but why am I paying $500? See, those are the kind of questions that should be addressed, because those are the topics that they're not expecting to address, right? A congressional member should get questions like, listen, I'm taking care of my elder mother, father, etc. They're in their late 80s, early 90s, and I'm having all these difficulties for Medicaid or Medicare, whatever they're on, and they're on a fixed income. But yet, I can't find a specialist that deals with Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever it is. Those are the questions you should ask, because then you will be able to discern if that congressional member going to be sympathetic or empathetic. Does that person have a compassionate heart? Are they really listening to your questions? See, because now they have to make a departure from their canned stump speech, right? And so those are the questions and issues that should be addressed by those who are running for Congress. Your questions. Make it personal, right? The second question, Erica, that I believe you asked was about Biden being reelected as a Democratic candidate. Listen, this is a binary system, right? I don't use the term the lesser of two evils. I just think that's the wrong way to frame this. There's a binary system. And you have to ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, of this binary system, which of the two candidates that you think will listen to you if you had the opportunity, which of these two candidates going to address your issues and concerns? Which of these two candidates that will demonstrate the characteristics who you want to represent you, right? You are the boss hiring an employee. The question is, which of these two candidates will you be okay working for your company? Period. Because one candidate you will hire, the other one you will not, if this was your company. We got to make this thing real to us. And that's the person that should earn your vote. Now, I will tell you that there's this discussion going on, and I know we're getting short on time about, is Biden too old? Well, we knew his age 4 years ago. It ain't changed. 78 plus 4 is 82. Here we are, right? So let's move away from all these talking points. It's not the age, right? Has he done something for Black people? Look at his body of work. Look at the policies that brought forward. They either directly or indirectly support your effort. But I will tell you this. If the early framers were around, those who were writing the Constitution, and when they got to the 14th Amendment, do you think that ever in the life of this country that a person with 91 felonies, 4 indictments, and 2 impeachments should be eligible to sit in the Oval Office again? I mean, let's right, put the Democrat and the Republican aside. Do you think the early framers who were, put this whole American experiment concept together, I don't think they were thinking that we need to also put in here that the person can't be a criminal. Because I'm almost certain that they were certain that the electorate would be smart enough to not hire a criminal to sit in the Oval Office. It's incredulous when one's son-in-law that was broke, negative $600 million in debt, and then 4 years later got a positive $2 billion. If you save every paycheck from the salary of being a presidential senior advisor during the 4 years that your father-in-law was in office, you're only getting $180,000 a year. That doesn't come up with $2 billion. In fact, to make sure that the math is mathing, that's 2.6 billion, because you evaporated the negative 600 million and you got a positive $2 billion. And so I appreciate the question. Uh-oh. Oh, where I go?
You're still there.
Oh, okay. So
we can still see you and hear you.
Okay, perfect. So we just gotta, I appreciate the question, because I think that's the real question to ask. And that is, when you think about who we should hire the next 4 years to be the president of the United States, put the D and the R aside. Will you hire someone that you already know have 91 felonies, 4 indictments, and 2 impeachments? And I think there was a third question, I forgot now, but that's the bottom line to that question.
Derek, thank you for those responses. Definitely nuggets to think about. We're down to about 3 minutes left. I'm just looking to see, we wanted to try to make sure that we answered all of the questions in the chat. We did talk about Biden's reelection versus whether or not to vote against Trump. The site for the streaming in the state of Georgia, legis.ga.gov, was provided as that site. How can you tell how the representatives vote after the fact? That was one question that we had. Derek, you have a 30-second answer for that one. How do you tell how the representatives vote after the fact?
Yes, so every website, I know here in Georgia, just like any other state, Tennessee, even Washington, D.C., I know it's not a state, but your voting record is provided. So if you wanted to go to legis.ga.gov and you put my name in there, it'll tell you exactly how I voted on every piece of legislation the last 8 years. You just put the year in that you're looking for, and it shows my voting record. That is public information. The same thing goes for the federal level. Every congressional member, both in the House and in your U.S. Senator, you can see their voting record on every bill. So again, go to those websites that I suggested earlier. That's how, again, you can stay informed, you can educate, build awareness, and then share that information with others, because we no longer have Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock taught a lot of us every Saturday morning how bills were formed. It got in a little bit deeper than the 3 branches of government. Guess what? Schoolhouse Rock is gone. So you just got to come to the Be the Now forums.
Great. Thank you, Derek. So with 1 minute left, Derek, if you don't mind, I'm going to take an opportunity. We did want to leave our audience with some nuggets to take away from our session this evening. We want to, first of all, make sure that this dialogue is continued. There's been lots of great topics or points that were brought out. We touched a lot of things during the call this evening. So, you know, think about it and then take it back and share it with someone. Share it with family, share it with friends. The more we get to talking about things, the more informed we become, the more educated we become. Another thing we want to have you take away is to research and educate on your own the current issues happening in your local and national government. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about, you know, you have to understand what you need and what's going on. How are the people voting? You know, what funds are being allocated, et cetera, et cetera. What funds are available to be allocated? So do your research. The other key thing we can never stress enough, check your voter status. There's so much going on. So many laws are changing, et cetera, et cetera. You always want to be aware of your voter status, your voter registration status. Make sure you check that regularly. Talk to family and friends about their voter registration status, making sure they're staying current. Laws are changing, and if you're not careful, you'll be left out. So make sure you keep up with that status. Another nugget, if you know anyone 17 and a half, make sure they register to vote. Again, this is an election year, so there's going to be a lot going on this year. Make sure those that are becoming eligible take action. Participate in the next speaker forum. I did put in the chat that our next forum is going to be on February 21st. We're going to be discussing the Voting Rights Act. It's going to be at the same time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And tell 5 to 10 of your friends to join us. The more that come together, the more informed the community becomes, the greater impact we can have. So those are just some nuggets that we wanted you to be sure to take away from our conversation this evening. Let's get the conversation started. We're just starting 2024, and it's already on and popping, to use a term. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting year. Let's make sure we stay educated, we stay engaged, and we stay informed so we can be the now. Derek, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
You said it all. I always tell folks, you're either going to be a spectator or participator. We don't need spectators, we need participators.
Thank you, everyone. Tiger, I don't know if you want to take us out with a little bit of music. We were celebrating the way in. I'm not sure what you have for us going out. If you get a moment, just take a look at the chat. We did have some more comments in the chat with some good information and some good thought-provoking questions. We're going to thank everyone so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to come and share with us and chat with us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you, everybody.